It's time to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis. Tonight, Jimmy Butler returns to Miami. The Golden State Warriors play the Miami Heat in what is going to be a very emotional night. I did write about this game on Fans First Sports Network at ffsn.com. You guys can go check out that article right now, or you can watch this and then check out the article wherever your heart's desire is. But I would be remiss without mentioning Jimmy Butler is coming back to Miami, not as a member of the Heat, but wearing a different jersey. Now, I did cover a lot in the article that you guys are more than welcome to go read at ffsn.com. But I do want to clarify something because I think the tone of my voice is going to make me feel some type of way. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler just went in and, said the most politically correct thing. Don't know why you started now, but it's like, it's okay, whatever. It's just another game, and in the grand scheme of things, it is another game. I mean, it's an Eastern Conference team versus a Western Conference team, and it's a road trip. Steph Curry is a game time decision. Whether he plays or not, I don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, Golden State Warriors are trending towards the playoffs. They're trying to avoid the play-in. They're a 6 seed right now. They're 41-30. The Miami Heat are the inverse, 30-41. Golden State's been on a winning streak for a while. They've won 8 of their last 10. Miami's dropped 9 of their last 10. Miami may not even get worse enough to avoid the play-in because right now they're a 10 seed, but everybody else in the East is tanking because they're like, oh, yeah, Cooper Flag, if we have a chance to get him, like the Atlanta Hawks win the lottery last year with little to no odds, they want a chance at Cooper Flag. I don't blame them. I really wish Miami had a chance at Cooper Flag because this is obviously post-Jimmy Butler era, and that's okay. But for Jimmy to say the most politically correct thing when he hasn't been politically correct or saying the right things for months. That's why he's no longer with the Heat. Pat Riley couldn't tolerate him anymore. Eric Spoelstra couldn't tolerate him anymore. There's reports that they let Jimmy Butler get away with stuff more than they let LeBron get away with, so on and so forth. Jimmy Butler, I hate that tonight has come. Ideally, Golden State wouldn't have been on the schedule until next year, and we wouldn't have had to deal with this mess just a little over a month after the NBA trade deadline. But, Jimmy, you may have found your joy in basketball, and that's cool. And you may get into the playoffs, and you and Steph with Draymond, I mean, you guys might make a playoff push. I still have better odds with the Los Angeles Lakers right now because I think Luka Doncic teaming up with LeBron right now is so much better than LeBron and AD, so much better than Butler and Curry, so much better than the Oklahoma City's young core. But time will tell. 3 from deep. Jason Colenso has been covering the playoff picture tremendously. Shout out to Jason. If you guys haven't watched 3 from deep, now 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays at noon, you totally should because that playoff picture, especially in the West, is so close after OKC, who's already clinched the number 1 seed. But all these teams from 2 to 8, or actually 2 to 9 in the playoff picture for the West, have all lost most recently. The only team that is in a win streak is the OKC Thunder, who have won 6 straight games, won 9 of their last 10. Houston finally suffered a loss. They had won 9 straight. And then the Phoenix Suns, who are a 10 seed trying to get in the play-in. It's between them and Dallas, which Anthony Davis is now back. The Suns have won 4 straight. But Miami, it doesn't look good. I mean, it looks bleak. They beat the Charlotte Hornets, who are tanking actively right now for Cooper Flag because they have a legitimate chance. Charlotte has a chance. Washington has a chance. Utah, and the slight chance that New Orleans does. My personal preference would either be Charlotte to go see Cooper Flag, because my dad, who's not a big NBA guy, I'll be doing Dad and the Boys with him later this afternoon. I'll probably keep this shirt on. And we'll do Dad and the Boys with us. And he's doing a mock draft, by the way, so you guys will want to check that out. And it did drop earlier today at 3. And so that is fantastic. But Charlotte would be great for Cooper Flag. New Orleans, teaming him with Zion Williamson would be great. And yeah, you guys can check out that Dad and the Boys episode. 3 p.m. it dropped on Fans First Sports Network audio platforms, Boom Broadcast, and video platforms. But Miami, they're pretty much out of the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. And, sitting at what they are right now, they're 5.5 games ahead of Toronto. So Toronto would really have to make a push here in the last 10 games to get Miami out of the dreaded play-in tournament that they've just been in year after year after year, no matter who's been on the team. And granted, Miami did make the NBA Finals a couple years ago when Jimmy Butler was on this team as a play-in seed, being an 8 seed, going and beating the number 1 Boston Celtics, and then going up from there. So it is possible, but it's very, very unlikely because we don't have Jimmy Butler anymore. He does play with a lot of heart. He does play with a lot of soul, which makes tonight very conflicting for me as a Heat fan, watching Jimmy Butler in New Jersey, especially the way he left. If Jimmy had just went to Pat Riley and said, hey, I feel like I need to leave. I feel like the organization's in a rut. I just want to win. Can you help send me to a contender in order to win and go out the way you would want to go out? Like, do not burn the bridge as you leave your employer is my thing. Jimmy Butler didn't do that. Jimmy Butler was very selfish. Jimmy Butler missed flights. Jimmy Butler was just a headache. And the only disappointing thing is I thought getting the headache out of Miami would have helped this team in the win column, but it didn't. And you know what? That's okay because we're already in the post-Butler era. So keep that in mind. Now, it did make me think, okay? I am wearing this Cowboys shirt right now. You see the Cowboys memorabilia in the back. You see some wrestling stuff. I'm a Heat fan. I had a Jimmy Butler shirt that I wasn't going to put on today because it hurts. Jimmy Butler being gone hurts a lot. Okay? But I've also seen some players go to different teams, and it's just a weird picture to look at. Seeing Jimmy Butler in a Warriors jersey is just hard to look at. So what I did is today is Tuesday, and we used to do NFL top quarter rankings where we ranked the top NFL teams 8 all the way up to 1, which Kansas City pretty much dominated that entire list. And they would even after losing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So I was like, let me compile a new list. And so what we are going to do is we are going to list the top 8 players of my favorite teams that has been hard to see in New Jersey. Now, this obviously eliminates the option of Michael Jordan and the Washington Wizards, Jerry Rice and the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, Peyton Manning and the Broncos, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It eliminates a lot of these options that you see a lot of people just in the world, in general, sports fans, will mention like, hey, this was a little weird to see. But we're all impartial to our own favorite teams and our favorite players who decide to go to greener pastures or are traded. Maybe it was the team's decision. Maybe it was the player. DeMarcus Lawrence just now going to Seattle. I didn't even include him in the list because I haven't seen him in a jersey, and I don't really care to. Thankfully, Zach Martin retired instead of going to another team. Tyron Smith is a Jet. Maybe he pops up on the list, but I want to give you guys my top list. And I want you to share in the comments your most disgusting, like weird, this is abnormal, this is a weird third different dimension where your players have decided or have been forced to leave your team to go join another team. So without further ado, we're going to get into this list, and we're going to start with somebody who was very, very recent in my heart. If you watched March Madness, you know I'm a Duke fan. So it's very difficult to see Jeremy Roach in a Baylor jersey. Now, this was not Jeremy Roach's decision. This was a very difficult decision by Jon Scheyer. Also seeing all the talent in Duke coming in. You know, you have Tyrese Proctor who returned. You had Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple. You had some big men. You had Caleb Foster. I mean, Jeremy Roach, being a grad student, he didn't think his college career was over. Jon Scheyer's like, hey, maybe you need to go somewhere else and be the dude. Because Jeremy Roach wasn't going to be the dude, but he is a great team player, and he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. I love Jeremy Roach. And you saw just the pain and the agony, not only of just his season and potentially his college career coming to an end, but you just saw he lost to his former team that he loves so much. And so that was heartbreaking for me. But seeing Jeremy Roach in this green and yellow, I know some Baylor fans, and I know you guys love your Baylor Bears, whatever, but this is gross. I mean, he deserves to wear some Duke colors. So Jeremy Roach, and I had him a little bit lower because it wasn't his own doing. And I can understand that. Next, I have DeMarcus Ware. Now, DeMarcus Ware, I thought he'd be a Cowboy forever. Towards the end of his Cowboy career, he did deal with a lot of injuries. And it was a shame that the Cowboys, with all the talent they had, they couldn't help deliver DeMarcus Ware's Super Bowl. DeMarcus Ware goes to Denver, where he's on the opposite side of Von Miller in his prime, where you start looking at the rest of the defense and you're like, oh, they got some dudes. And then you have Peyton Manning on the offensive side outside of his prime. But Peyton Manning, in retrospect, he has a mind that, I mean, if Peyton Manning is at 40% physically, he can still beat you because he is 110% mentally. And DeMarcus Ware was able to go to Denver and rejuvenate his career and end on a high note. He did get to become a Super Bowl champion. And he did sign a one-day contract and retire as a Dallas Cowboy, which is awesome. But it is still weird seeing DeMarcus Ware really end his on-field career as a Denver Bronco. And it just hurts more that Dallas was not able to give him a Super Bowl. But I don't fault DeMarcus Ware for going to Denver and being the guy. He actually got released. So he got full permission to leave Dallas. They wanted to go in a different direction. Who knows what would have happened if DeMarcus Ware had remained in Dallas, and they really could have paired DeMarcus Ware and DeMarcus Lawrence, the two DeMarcuses. But now DeMarcus Lawrence is in Seattle. Again, he's not on this list. Now, I did want to go a different route. Now, I mentioned you see some Cowboy apparel. We've got a Duke player. We've got a former Cowboy. But you see a lot of wrestling memorabilia behind me. And that's a reason I have a wrestling podcast that drops tomorrow. We didn't do a Monday Night Raw nightcap last night. So what we're going to do is we're going to react to Monday Night Raw. 3 things Monday Night Raw did right. 2 things Monday Night Raw got wrong. That'll be tomorrow's Drop the Mic episode. But this isn't just players in sports. I'm going to add my taste of wrestling, and I could have went I could have went some crazy ways because there's some wrestlers I never expected with different companies. Cody Rhodes leaving AEW, the company he started, coming back to WWE. That was bizarre. But I've kind of got used to it. Adam Copeland. I never thought we'd see Edge not be in WWE, but he's living his life. I got to see him live in person in the New Year's Day special in Asheville. I'm okay with it. There's so many different ones. AJ Styles showing up in WWE. I mean, Penta's in WWE now, and we'll talk about him a little bit tomorrow on Drop the Mic. But I'm going this guy. Sting! Now, Sting, he was a WCW guy, and he refused to join WWE because of the product not really aligning with his religious Christian beliefs and values, and it's totally understandable. So Sting goes to TNA, and he spends a lot of his career in TNA, and it appears he's really hanging them up. And then all of a sudden in 2015, he shows up in WWE. What? Why? Sting being in WWE is just so weird. Him holding a WWE microphone, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And obviously, it was a very short-lived tenure. He wrestled Triple H at WrestleMania 31, his only WrestleMania, and he lost, but we got the DX and the NWO, and he obviously got to wrestle Seth Rollins later that year, and that's when his career looked like it was coming to an end because of a severe back neck injury, whiplash from the buckle bomb. But he did come to AEW, and I got to see his official retirement match at AEW Revolution last year. I was watching a little bit of that episode yesterday on HBO Max. But Sting, if you look, it's like a fever dream that he showed up in WWE. And relating it to sports, it's as if he just kind of just had a weird training camp preseason experience. Maybe played in a playoff game or something. But other than that, it looked weird. And it's more upsetting that we never got Sting versus Undertaker, because Undertaker wrestled Bray Wyatt that year. Now, granted, we did get Undertaker Bray Wyatt. We got Sting Triple H. I'm not going to be so upset. But Sting in WWE did look a little weird. Coming in at number 5, Dez Bryant. Now, I put Baltimore. But originally when the Cowboys and Dez parted ways, Dez actually originally signed with the Saints, but he suffered an injury and never got to play in a game with the Saints. And he decides his career still isn't over. So he actually does get to play for the Baltimore Ravens. Now he's throwing up the X, something I love doing as a Dallas Cowboy fan, as a Dez Bryant fan. But you think about 88s, and you think about Drew Pearson, lifelong Cowboy. Michael Irvin, lifelong Cowboy. CeeDee Lamb just got signed. He'll probably be a lifelong Cowboy. So if you get the number 88 coming out of college, it is the expectation that you will play as a Cowboy, retire as a Cowboy, and bring a championship like Drew Pearson and Michael Irvin did. Dez Bryant did not. Dez, for whatever reason, again, like DeMarcus Ware, very unfortunate, didn't get to have a Super Bowl in Dallas, didn't get to have a Super Bowl in his career, period. But you always thought it was going to be Dez and Tony. And then you thought it was going to be Dez helping a young Dak Prescott. And that's just not how it worked out. And it's very unfortunate because Dez Bryant, he looks weird in a Baltimore jersey. I just want to get rid of that. It doesn't even look good when you look at the rankings right now. Jeremy Roach at 8, DeMarcus Ware at 7, Sting at 6, Dez Bryant at 5. Now, I could have went several people there, and I'll kind of give my honorable mentions at the very end because I don't want to spoil who's on this list. But I may have spoiled who's next because I talked about him at the beginning of the show. This makes me sick. This makes me sick. Jimmy Butler was not a lifelong Miami Heat player. Of course, he was in Chicago, and I really love watching him in Chicago. We'll have somebody else who played in Chicago later on in this episode. But you had him in Chicago, you had him in Minnesota, you had him in Philadelphia. But when he came to Miami, it felt right. He embodied Heat culture. Even though Jimmy says that phrase is overused and over-exaggerated, no, Jimmy, you exemplified Heat culture. You wanted to win. You gave your all, and you were for the team until you weren't. So it's going to be really, really hard. And I can't even look at that picture right now. It's going to be really, really hard watching you play against Miami tonight. Wearing Butler 3 on the back of your jersey, wearing the number 10, wearing that gold and blue. You belonged with Miami. And it's sad to see you go. I hope that several years from now, I can look back with more memorable and fond memories and think of you in a positive light. But until then, you're number 4 on this list of just players in bizarre jerseys from teams I love. Now, I never got to personally watch this person in a uniform of my favorite team. Okay? I never did. And so what I want to say in regards to this person, I didn't have those memories of watching you play for my favorite team and then move somewhere else. But I do remember looking and finding this weird picture. And I was like, what is up with this? I actually think in 2005, I saw you on a different team. And I was like, were you like signed by the game or whatever? No, you actually played for this team. Emmitt Smith and the Arizona Cardinals. This, if you ask anybody, sports fan, this is one of the more bizarre pictures because Emmitt Smith, the NFL's all-time leading rusher, nobody's beating him, nobody's getting close. Not even Frank Gore with almost 20 seasons in the NFL. Emmitt Smith then playing for another team and wearing red at the later stage of his career, even with that weird commercial with Jerry Rice and Joe Montana, he's like, or Dan Marino rather. He's like, I'm ready to play. And this is weird. I mean, I ain't grow up in the era of watching Emmitt Smith play for the Cowboys, but I'm sure if I did, this could probably be at the top of my list because this is bizarre. And again, sports fans, no matter who you're a fan of, they attribute this as one of the more bizarre players to go play for another team. And I mean, I could have put another running back or two on this list, or as high as Emmitt Smith, but being the NFL's all-time leading rusher and doing that with the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think you could have put anyone else at number 3 on this list. But coming in at number 2, I actually have my final Dallas Cowboy on this list. I'm going somebody who I did grow up watching, Jason Witten. Former Walter Payton Man of the Year. You see that badge of honor on his chest. You see Jason Witten, and he was Dallas. I mean, drafted from Tennessee, came to the Cowboys and just fit. He was a locker room leader. He is one of the last traditional tight ends in the NFL. He was. When everybody else is now, this is just a big body wide receiver. Nobody really wants to block in the run game. Jason Witten did it all. And Jason Witten wasn't super athletic, especially towards the end of his career. Jason Witten wasn't like this. Yeah, he wasn't this great athlete or, he wouldn't catch like 150 balls or, he also just wouldn't be that guy to block for the running back, whoever that was. Jason Witten was the security blanket. If you had a 3rd down and 6, 3rd down and 7, Jason knew exactly where the chains were. Jason knew exactly how to position himself against the defender, box out, and move the chains. That was Jason Witten. You had to double team a tight end to stop the Dallas Cowboys. That's what you had to do. And so you had to let Des Bryant or Terrell Owens be that guy who had one-on-one coverage, because Jason Witten, if you didn't leave him double teamed and if you didn't cover his front and his back, you were basically giving up a first down. And so for him, it's even at his later stages, like he would play through any injuries, and he was one of the toughest guys. I mean, one of the biggest images in Cowboys history is him running against Philadelphia Eagles after his helmet flew off, and they had to implement a rule because of concussions. Like, hey, if your helmet's off and you're the ball carrier, the play is done. You're done. You're down. Jason Witten didn't care, and Jason Witten went and scored a touchdown. He's the only and the last time that will ever happen is scoring a touchdown without your helmet. So, Jason, you are forever a Cowboy. I know Cody probably enjoyed you a little bit seeing a legend in a Raiders uniform, but man, oh man, this is a sight to see. Jason Witten at number 2. And I mentioned that as my final football player. As we come to the end of this list, I wanted to tell you some guys I did omit with some honorable mentions. And of course, I know the comment section is going to flood with players that I didn't even think about, or may have slipped my mind, or maybe I just didn't mention and I did put some serious thought into. I know I put Emmitt Smith here. I could have put DeMarco Murray. It was hard to see him go from Cowboys and being the season leader in rushing yards to go to Philadelphia for this dream team, but he fizzled out. I could have went Ezekiel Elliott, but Elliott was towards the end of his career. I know Dad, that's probably his number 1 because he is a huge Ezekiel Elliott fan. But we did get to see Elliott back in Dallas this past year. I know his heart is with Dallas. For Miami, I could have put the likes of LeBron even. I mean, 4 straight finals, 2 rings. For him to go back to Cleveland or even to go back to the Lakers felt a little weird. Be honest with you. I mentioned some wrestlers that I could have put in, like Cody going back to WWE after AEW, Edge going to AEW, AJ Styles in WWE. There's some that I'm just like, wow, I never saw that coming. And there's some, and that will probably be added. I know it's going to be weird seeing Malik Murphy with a different team, but I'm excited for the quarterback we do have coming into Duke this year. It's a little weird seeing some of these guys leave and play for different teams. But number 1, and I debated on what jersey I would put him in. Dwayne Wade, my favorite player. The reason I'm a Heat fan. And he's wearing a different jersey. That the reason I'm a Heat fan and he leaves. And I mean, it's Wade County, for crying out loud. It's the Miami Heat. Like, Dwayne Wade is Miami. And he played for another team. He played for 2 teams, actually. And I get Chicago, like, it was his hometown. He probably idolized Jordan growing up. Like, I understand. I don't entirely fault him. I kind of fault Pat Riley, and that's the only time I'll fault Pat Riley, is letting Dwayne Wade be a Chicago Bull. But man, that is something else to look at, guys. That is something else to look at. And so he did go to his hometown team and play for the Bulls, but he did. And I told you I debate on what one to do. I think it's even weirder to look at him in a Cavs jersey because that wasn't his hometown team. He did join LeBron. That's why he went. But he's not even wearing the number 3 with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He wore 9, and I couldn't even put that picture up on the screen because Dwayne Wade's like Miami. Like, he's why I'm a Heat fan. Like, I enjoyed watching Flash. And yeah, that is weird. I'm getting rid of that picture right there. But that's my list. Basically, my top core rankings of players in bizarre jerseys, or new sceneries. But guys, that is my Out of Pocket episode. Again, we're cut down to Tuesdays and Fridays at 5:30 now. I want to give a special shout out to Aaron and Carson for Hoops and Helmets doing a phenomenal job covering Mondays and Thursdays at 5:30. If you're a college basketball and college football fan, you want to watch what they're doing on Mondays and Thursdays at 5:30. And Out of Pocket still giving you great content Tuesdays and Fridays, or I hope it's great. But again, we've had some programming. You want to check out Dad and the Boys that dropped at 3 today. Mac, my dad, gives his mock draft. I'm going to spoil it. We allow trades, and he blew my mind with one of these trades. He did. He had Genty and he had McMillan on the board with his first-round pick. Go see what he chose. And it was a fun episode. We had some nice production. We had some nice graphics. So we hope you guys enjoy the presentation of Dad and the Boys as well. And Aaron's been doing some great mock drafts on the Gridiron Address that are available on demand on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. What's coming up tomorrow? We got 3 from Deep. Wednesday at noon, we have Drop the Mic, telling you 3 things that Raw did right, 2 things they did wrong at 3 p.m. tomorrow. And then again, Thursday, Hoops and Helmets will be at that 5:30 slot. Now Pocket will be back on Friday. So guys, we appreciate you all watching on Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. And we will catch you back here Friday for another episode of Out of Pocket.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you.